Hello again, Internet. My continued effort to do whatever I want with this channel. I'm going to give a completely unscripted review of this game you are looking at. I actually posted a... God, I hate the short name terms for all posting on social media. So I'm just going to say posted on Blue Sky about finishing the game and tagged the creators, Roborar Digital, as you can see down on the bottom of the screen, commenting that I liked the game quite a bit, and I thought it was a good iteration of a game that encourages a player to get good, as in, the game can be quite challenging, etc. And I commented that I wished I had a show where I reviewed things so I could talk more in depth about it, and they commented that they wanted to see that. Or hear what I had to say. So I was like, well, sure. I guess I could record something really, really cheap and easy. So yeah, this is gonna be no my usual style of no editing. But this is Raimodula by Roborar Digital. It's interesting. It's a little. I'm gonna play it. I'm not necessarily going to be talking specifically about what I'm doing. I'm just going to talk about the game in general. But I do need to play it a little bit, both for background visuals and to sort of show some aspects of it. So I'm going to actually knock it down from Master, because that will kick my ass. I'm just going to knock it down to... Adept is normal. You've got Tutorial, Novice is easy, Adept is normal, Veteran is hard, and then Master is super hard. It's also you have to play on Master if you want to get all the Chivos, which I do not have. I am short one Chivo, and if Roborar actually watches this, they'll probably be able to deduce which one it is by the fact that I have 81% stars. But I'm just going to throw it on Adept for a second here. So, in this game, and you can co-op this game, which I like quite a lot, but you play as one of two robot question marks? Robots? Question mark? Either a blue character that deals in ranged attack or a red character that deals in melee attacks, which is just Capcom fantastic. I love it. I'll go ahead and choose my blue boy here. Yeah, Mega Rifle. Oh yeah, so keep this screen in mind. I'll reference it. Little glowy blue, the little glowy green dots in the chips, as well as the... Is red because that's what I was using for, my highest level playthrough? I don't know. Anyway. Oh, look, you can also put points into stats, sort of. Ready. So despite my obviously kind of comparing it to Mega Man, actually, it feels a lot more like Turrican, or Super Turrican, if you're familiar with those games. Maybe even something like Contra Hardcore, in that it's kind of a run and gun. Obviously, the red character is not so much gunny, but plenty runny. That was the wrong button. I gotta remember my buttons. Oh boy. Yeah, so it doesn't play really like a Mega Man game exactly, but I'd be very surprised if there wasn't Mega Man influences, especially on the character design there, since a red melee and a blue, ranged character. It's hard to imagine that there wasn't some Mega Man Zero, or even Dante Virgil, I suppose, inspiration there, but even then, Dante and Virgil are somewhat inspired by, the Mega Man thing that Capcom do. Capcom be some of the biggest proponents in the field of your red and blue combos, combo characters. That is to say, combos of characters. You know what I mean. Anyway, yeah, you can see here, it's a bit of a run-and-gun dealy. Don't touch those red things. One of the game's main, challenges is... You might see those stars just underneath what is my health. And that's... You get your stars... Oh, by not taking hits. If I took a hit, I'd lose a star, as well as health. And so the only way to collect all the stars when going through a stage, and it tallies them up at the end of a suite of levels, is to never take hits. And I don't know if you caught that, but there is also a speedrun mode past the final difficulty. I don't actually know what it does. I presume it just adds a timer. But yeah, the game definitely is like, hey, we want you to, like, be good at the game. And I'm not good at the game, as you saw there, as I took a hit. Now, the interesting thing, and part of what makes it a little harder to describe kind of what exactly the... Ow. That was bad of me. Makes it a little more difficult to try to explain, like, what exactly the game is that these stages you're seeing me go through are not set. They're actually semi-random. I'm not sure how random, but they're somewhat random, so you don't always get all the same stages. So you might think that that's a bit of a, like, roguelike or roguelite aspect to the overall game, and that's definitely not wrong. There we go. But your character does not, like, reset in between attempts. Instead, you're not going to see me do it here because I've actually collected all the chips in the game already, but those chips, that was the, like, visualization of our weapons on that previous screen that I told you to remember. Those are collected as you play through the game and complete full runs through the various stages. And they come, the little glowy green bits were the levels of the chips. So you can get higher level chips as you keep playing. And those are permanent. However, in keeping with the game still very much wanting the player to, you know, raise that difficulty level as they play and play and play. On master level, while you have access to every chip you've unlocked, their levels are turned off, so presumably they're all just, like, the level 1 variants of themselves? I'm not entirely sure how that works under the hood, but, you know. You can't just be sure to fully upgrade the chips for a benefit in that situation. And while the stages don't... That was stupid of me. The actual, like, physicality of the stages and even the enemies don't really change in higher difficulties, but the enemies become way more aggressive, and the game, you might have seen, like, enemies spawning in occasionally that don't even count towards that target's limit in the center, and that's because... Can I hit from here? Nope. And that's, you know, those are just extra enemies that the game is spawning in for extra difficulty. And the higher the difficulty, the more of those get spawned in. So yeah, it's very much a game that wants the player to go for high skill gameplay. You know, very much a kind of retro-esque get good style of game. But the kind of the thing I said on social media was that I think this game does a much better job of being that style of game than most, maybe not most, but than a lot of other games that I see trying to do. Good going, me. That I see trying to do that, and I expressed that through the statement of a lot of those games try to, or want the player to already be a good type of person, and therefore the games just beat the player down, expecting the player to just inherently, like, innately care about playing a high challenge video game, instead of the game actually wanting to build the player up into someone who cares about the challenge. You know, encouraging the player to keep going and to keep raising the difficulty. And this is one of those sorts of... This is a game that I think does it very well. I wanted to keep increasing the difficulty and getting more and more out of the game as I was playing it. You know, and playing the game from that, like, first difficulty and moving up is like how the game wants to be played. It's not just a matter of, oh, I'm a get good, you know, so you know, hard is the only difficulty, that sort of bullshit, right? This game is like, no, we want you to play all of the difficulties. You know, that's part of the whole experience of the game. And because of the, like, permanent chip acquisition levels, you know, that happens and helps the player along so the player's learning and learning what the different weapons do, what situations they're good in. They get better as the game gets harder, and then the game asks you to care more about skill than numbers by hitting that master difficulty, right? Which I think was quite genius of them. As you can see here, as with the better of Get Good games, in my opinion, who borrow more from Contra than from, say, Dark Souls, where doing things very quickly and efficiently is the name of the game, rather than having really long, dragged-out affairs that can really grind the player down and make them just not really have fun. I think this game does a considerably better job of all of that than a lot of games do. And even games that might have some of the elements of what I'm talking about can often fall flat on their faces. Stuff like shmups, in particular, is probably one of the big ones, in my opinion. I feel like that genre and its primary player base, like, really don't even seem to understand why they can't get back into being, like, a mainstream genre. And it's, like, entirely because the genre itself just inherently doesn't... It's not player-friendly. It's broadly just not very player-friendly most of the time, and the entries in the genre that are more player-friendly and more of an encouraging experience rather than a beat-down experience that's expecting people to be playing for, you know, what's that, TFB and high score grinding right from the get-go, get ignored by the broader community, and then, of course, people looking in from the outside see that the broader community is ignoring something and go, okay, well, maybe that's not a good, you know, version of the genre if the people who are the enthusiasts for that genre don't seem to like it. It's something that really bothers me, because it feels very much like a consistent problem with a lot of these, you know, Get Good genres. You know, a lot of these older genres that newer devs don't... They're not making games for everyone. They're only ever making games for their tiny niche little community. And then I have literally seen shmup community podcasts going, why can't we get more people to play our genre? And it's just like, well, because your genre is kind of upfront not very fun to play. Dying in one hit, expecting everyone to give a shit about boring-ass score grinding. Like, people don't care about score grinding. They haven't, ever. Like, legitimately. I know some people are going to be like, oh, the arcade days. But, like, people were being forced to care about score grinding. And the score grinding in arcade games was more there as a, like, honestly proto-gotcha game way of getting into people's brains and making them spend more money. Same thing with the game difficulty back in the arcades. Games were difficult not because that was some artistic choice on the part of the devs, but because of capitalism. Literally capitalism. Distributors and publishers and friggin' arcade owners would insist that devs would make the games harder. That way, players had to force more quarters into the machine. It was literally capitalism. Which isn't a good thing. It's a bad thing. And now you've got people these days who don't seem to really get that, don't even seem to entirely understand where it all came from, who just think that, oh, everybody's soft for not playing their hardcore games. And it's like, actually, it's because people wanted to play games the whole time as a form of, like, enjoyment, and not as a form of fucking, like, masochism and self-punishment. I don't know what to tell you. And my point is, this game is not like that. This game might look like one of those games on the outset, which is and I do like those kinds of games. I need to make it clear here. I wouldn't have played it in the first place if I wasn't like, ooh, I like retro run and gun. I like retro, you know, style stage by stage progression and, you know, blah, 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 and all that. I like these things, but that doesn't mean that I think every game does it earnestly or understandably. Come on. Ooh, got a little bit of a survival section here. I know I stopped talking about exactly what I was doing, like I said. Yeah, so like that's a lot more of the like more in-depth versions of my thoughts regarding this whole kind of game and that kind of broader topic. RoboRar has another game they are currently working on. Oh, god damn it. No editing. I'm going to go look it up right now, real time. Editing is for people with, like, motivation and energy. Exobrave. I've been into a lot of things that start with Exo lately, like Lego's Exo Squad and remembering the old Exo Force cartoon. But yeah, their next game is called Exobrave. It's on Steam. You should wishlist it. And by on Steam, I mean it's you can wishlist it, but it's not done yet. They're still working on it. But y'all should like give it a try and give this game a try. I think this game is very fun. Like I don't know. I love the grungy kind of RoboPunk aesthetic of the whole thing. So sort of somewhere between Digipunk and RoboPunk, but it like nice and dirty looking. There's a true ending for your troubles in terms of playing on the higher difficulties and such. And I just think one of the things here something about the game I really, really like that's not so obvious and is like not something you really see a whole lot is with this style of game. I mean, usually this style of game, this 2D run and shoot style, that kind of like Contra or Turrican, tends to be built more around the idea of these long form levels, lots of boss fights and stuff. This game is clearly built around more confined kind. I called it to a friend of mine kind of action platform puzzles, where every like room is this confined puzzle of a challenge, and I really like that. I feel like there's a different part of the brain that it's activating than your Contra style games. Ooh! Oh, I just got a star I didn't have before. Bitchin'! Also, when you're underwater, you can kind of like jump forever. Uh-oh. Ah, come on! It's always that one, I swear to God. I always get hit in that one. Woo, baby, baby! Oh, come on, you can't. Got it. Oh, I got another star I didn't have before. Sweet. I'm sorry, RoboRar, but I don't have it in me to get 100% stars. I know I'm getting like excited about stars right now, but I don't have it in me to play this and on no damage master difficulty. I do think it's super cool though, and I hope the people that would appreciate that challenge find the game and play it, because I think it deserves it. Another thing that's great about the game is it's actually quite compact and punchy, which for high skill games is much better. You can't have high skill games that are super long-winded. It just burns people out, and it gets really tiring to play these kinds of games when they're very, very long. Uh-oh. Oh, why are you still... Okay. There we go. Okay. Still gotta respond to what's happening in front of me sometimes because... Oh, more stars! Bitchin'! Okay. Actually, you know what? Fuck it. We're just gonna... Maybe I'll be able to succeed a run while I'm doing this. That's not impossible. But also, I'm not, like, super amazing. What else? Um, I like the various different weapons. But I also, one of the things I like about the weapons being like permanent unlocks as opposed to, say, something more Turrican-y where you'd find them in a stage, is giving player expression, is what we like to call it. Player expression. Where you get to find the build that, you know, suits you best. And then instead of having to try, especially in a game where the stages are random, or at least semi-random, instead of having to hope you put that build together or whatever, or, you know, in a lot of iterations of that kind of game, you could lose your weapons by dying and then being stuck with the pea shooter again, that sort of thing. Here it combines the best of both worlds, where you have alternate loadouts per character. You can modify those alternate loadouts because there's a lot of options. But then during the actual run, you just have that all built in inherently. You can't lose any of it because you took a stray bullet somewhere. Mario. I was trying to think of like a game where a single hit, not just a death, takes away a weapon, and I was like, the first thing that came to mind was straight up the fire flower from Mario. We're in the final stage, by the way. That bit where I had to fill up those like bars or whatever they were. That's based on your star count. Ooh, that was super stupid of me. Why did I? Almost killed myself there. Well, not killed. I wouldn't have died, but also the you know, putting points into stats was a thing too. So again, player expression, because there's obviously a maximum, and you don't have enough points to put into literally everything when you're doing that. So you get to choose as a player, like, maybe you don't care about getting all the stars, you just want to beat master difficulty at all, so you jam all the points into health, right? So you can take a spare hit here and there. Or you jam all the points into movement because you're going to play speedrun mode and you need to go fast. Or you jam, as I tend to do, jam all your points into damage because you like to make shit go away really, really quickly. Because I prefer to make shit go away in games like this. Ooh, hello. Yeah, player expression, a good game length, the one thing I was going to say was, like, the soundtrack is good, but it's not the sort of soundtrack that, like, kept jumping out at me. But I definitely jam to it while I'm playing. But that's, like, good in its own way, too. You don't want a game that's, like, a high-skill game that then, is, like, distracting? You know what I mean? Okay, trying to remember how to fight the last boss here. Ow. Fortunately, we don't have any stars to collect on the final stage. Oh, that hit me? Come on. Yo, got him. Okay. Nice. Oh, hey, and I played on Adept, so you don't see the true ending. So there, I didn't spoil anything. There is a true ending beyond what you're about to see here, so... Haha! I also didn't spoil... I'll pretend that was the real reason I didn't play on... Shit, I forgot what it was called. It's not just called, like, hard. Veteran? Was it called Veteran? I'm gonna pretend that was totally the reason. It was so that I wouldn't spoil it for everyone. Also, hey, there! A whole playthrough of a game on Super Game Friends. It's been forever. I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. But yeah, that was Raimodula from RoboRar Digital. I liked it, and I'm looking forward to Exobrave. And yeah, I don't know, RoboRar guys, if you ended up watching this after I post it, I hope that it was the sort of feedback you were hoping for. I didn't have anything critical to say, mainly because I don't think there's really too much to criticize about the game. Core cleansed. Stars collected. Is that a new best? I don't think so. Nope. Um. Yeah. No. I didn't. I guess maybe I'm not a super big fan of. Oops. Wait a minute. Um. Was that the true ending? I think that was. Whoops. Okay. My bad. I spoiled it. Sorry, everybody. It's not like it's a sort of game where the plot's like what you're playing for. You're playing for the gameplay, damn it. You should be playing any video game for the gameplay personally, but it is what it is. Anyway, I guess if I had one criticism, it's that weird. I thought you could only get that on Adept or a veteran. I mean, I guess I'm just stupid. I'm not a huge fan of the main difficulty spike on Master just being tons of randomly spawning in enemies. I've had some of them spawn in basically under where my jump was going to land in a very, like, there is nothing I could have done about that unfair way. It doesn't happen that much, and there's a pretty good window where the actual, like, spawn in, that, like, white bubble doesn't hurt the player. But it's happened a couple times, and it definitely, that stings a bit, because it's, it's one of those things when you steal away the skill element, and there's just like, you just got hurt because of random chance. That never feels good. Although I also understand with the way that, like, the individual stages are not being modified. It's just that the enemies already in them get ramped up. Like, they had to come up with something. Roborar had to come up with something else to add a sense of, like, more urgency and danger to each stage. But that's probably my one only real complaint, is I like, maybe on maybe Exobrave will do this. Maybe higher difficulties in Exobrave will actually add more, what do you call that? Set enemies rather than just spawning random stuff in. Especially since I don't know if there's any logic to what gets spawned in. So sometimes it's like, the really tiny one-shot things, the slightly bigger things that take a few shots, and then you get that one that's like several small things rotating around a ball of, like, electricity. And I don't know if there's any rhyme or reason to any of that. So that's probably the one thing I didn't think was the most amazeballs. But yeah. Oh, right. Socials actually brings that up in your web browser. But yeah, you should go check them out. They're on, like, all the usual socials, although you should only use Blue Sky at this point because all the rest of them are owned by fucking God, fuck them people. Here's the credits screen. So, is there more to it? Nope. There you go. All right, everybody. That was Raimodula. And, yeah. Have a good day. Happy gaming.